Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. This is a video about 5 updates I'd like to see in RuneScape in 2020. So when you're ready, grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Now, I made a video like this last year about 5 updates I wanted to see in 2019. Pretty much none of them happened apart from the bank rework, which kind of happened, like half a rework. So, in that video, I mentioned the weather update, which is a forgotten update, and it's still not here. It was announced at RuneFest 2017, I believe, and I just wanted to say that I still think, I hope, just that they make this update happen in 2020, but there's little hope because they didn't mention anything about this update ever again since. So, that's kind of sad, because this update would basically put weather into RuneScape no matter where you are. For example, you could have a snowstorm in Taverley, or it could be raining, or it could be sunny, like seasons in RuneScape. Much like player-owned farms, it's basically in player-owned farms, but then throughout the entirety of RuneScape. And on the images you can see on screen, you'd have, thunderstorms and stuff, and I think that would add that little bit of extra immersion in the game, or just make it feel more alive than what it is currently. At the same time, with this update, they could graphically overhaul the older places which aren't yet overhauled, like Karamja or like Relica. These places still have outdated graphics and it looks bad, and I've mentioned this in my series critique/re-review of RuneScape 3, which is linked in the description below, by the way, if you're interested, but this would just make RuneScape feel like one game and not separated by bad or outdated areas, especially quests, actually. If you've been doing quests, you will probably have noticed this by doing the quest lines, and the first quests are usually very old in a quest line or series, and once you get to the end game quests, I know Sliske's end game, the final quest for Prif, the areas you get to look much better. At number 3, we have the Wilderness rework. Now, this was not announced by Jagex. I'm, saying that right off the bat. This was not announced by Jagex. I don't even think it was in the annual survey either. But I think the Wilderness rework would be a very interesting thing. There are so many things you could think of how to make the Wilderness more interesting or more active or be used for something. Just make it not mostly dead content, apart from the skilling methods here and there. They could add a certain type of boss in the wilderness that can only be killed in the wilderness, just like in old school RuneScape. There's a few. I mean, you have Chaos Elemental and King Black Dragon, kind of, if you're free to play, but these bosses are not really a challenge anymore and don't drop anything of value for high level players, with the exception of the rare drops at Chaos Elemental, which are the same as the Revenant drops. But you know what I mean, just an interesting boss, maybe with mechanics, or more Slayer creatures for levels 99 to 120, which are actually good experience, because if you actually do Wilderness Slayer, which I explain in my Slayer guide, the full Slayer guide, which I'll link in the description below as well, Wilderness Slayer really isn't that good experience. Or maybe make a craftable weapon inside the wilderness that you have to make completely from scratch, kind of like Iron Man mode, and you cannot sell on the Grand Exchange, but it's a high tier weapon that can be beneficial. And when you're, gathering the logs, for example, if it was a bow, in the wilderness you can get attacked by anyone, just like the demonic skull, and it takes a while to gather those logs and stuff like that, so that you have a risk, and it doesn't crash the price of already existing high-tier weapons. I'll probably end up making a full video of how we could rework the wilderness, and maybe Jagex will pick up on that, but I sincerely doubt it. Just leave your ideas in the comment section below. Moving on to number 2. Construction rework, huh? So, I mentioned this in my series critique. I made a video on how player-owned houses are dead content, mostly. I seriously think we need a construction rework. Construction is by far the most outdated skill in the game, and it's one of the most tedious to train. And I've said this multiple times, and for the people that consistently watch my videos, they'll be like, again, construction rework? Ugh. But yeah, we really need a construction rework. There's not much else to be said. There are so many options and so many things Jagex could do. And no, I do not want extension to 120, and I do not want it to be a 120 skill, just like in the annual survey. I just want it to be reworked levels 1 to 99. That'd be very nice. And at number 1, we have an update that was actually announced at RuneFest, Elder Gold Rush Dungeon, aka Gold Rush Dungeon 3. Now, they announced this, and it should be released somewhere in 2020, probably towards the end of the year, because, as you know, Jagex usually delays their updates. If it doesn't happen, though, it will be released in the summer of 2020, so probably June, July-ish. Now, Gold Rush Dungeon 3, there isn't too much information about it, but it's basically going to be 4 bosses, much like Gold Rush Dungeon 1 and 2, and possibly even a 5th harder boss. So Gold Rush Dungeon 1, it's next, Gold Rush Dungeon 2, it's Telos, Gold Rush Dungeon 3 is maybe. I expect the bosses in Gold Rush Dungeon 3, the 4 main ones, being slightly harder than Gold Rush Dungeon 2, because I don't think they will make it that much harder, because then it wouldn't be Gold Rush Dungeon with, like, easily massable bosses. Gold Rush Dungeon 1 to Gold Rush Dungeon 2 was a pretty big step up. However, Gold Rush Dungeon 3 will probably be a smaller step, because otherwise it will be too hard for the majority of, mid-level PVMers to get into, maybe even Ironman accounts, and I don't think they want it to be hard either. They want it to be relatively easy, so bosses with a few mechanics. Take Vindicta, for example. Once this update comes out, I will definitely be making videos on it. I'm really hyped for some new, kind of chill PVM content, because I'm not necessarily a fan of the very hard bosses. But who knows? Maybe I'll like that more in the future. With that being said though, that pretty much wraps up this video. Please comment down below which updates you are most excited about, because I'd be curious to read your comments. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like down below and maybe even consider subscribing. And if you're interested in other content than RuneScape, and maybe RuneScape mini guides, please consider subscribing to my second channel as well, as I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers so that I can stop plaguing my main channel with non-RuneScape content every now and then. Catch you guys later. Peace.